I was sitting back there looking very relaxed because I thought somebody called Claire was next, so I really apologise for that. My name's Derek Allan. I'm the producer and director for the Enchanted Forest. It's a sound and light show in Perthshire in Scotland. I'll give you a little bit of background history to it because it's actually been going for a few years now. It was originally started by the Forestry Commission as a way of, in Scotland, as a way of encouraging people to come out and enjoy the countryside and get out and go and view the forests and everything else. And they did quite a good job. They managed forests, that's what they're good at, but they sort of managed to get about 8,000 or 9,000 people to come out year on year. And then about 4 years ago, they decided that they had to get back to their core business, which was managing forests, and that the event was going to be no more. And so the community in Pitlochry got together and said, we can't lose this event because it's so important to the local economy. So they set up a community interest company with a view to retaining the event and building on it and making it as big as it could be. And they asked me, I work for Pitlochry Festival Theatre as a director there, and they asked me to come in and help produce the show and create the show for them. So I've been involved with it now for the last 3 years. And I think to give you a little bit of background, I'm going to run a quick video now which is shot from this year's show. It's not maybe as cool as Lisa's show. I don't have big fast cars, but I've got cute kids, so it should be all right.
This is the 10th anniversary of the Enchanted Forest. In numbers terms, in visitors terms, we have nearly 10 times the amount of visitors that came. Back in 2002, we started off very small with 2,500 people. Let's hope this year we're looking for 25,000 people plus.
Well, it's a beautiful setting, and the lighting show is quite spectacular as you walk around.
I like the symbols that were hanging from the trees.
The water coming off the roof of the bridge.
Looking at all the lights. There was like music in the background. It's just like I've never heard it before. It was fantastic.
Variety, a mixture of different ages, lots of different people from lots of different places.
One of the biggest challenges of this event is to keep it fresh and interesting, because quite a lot of people come back year on year.
Last year it was back at the Plant Collector's Garden in Pitlochry itself, but now it's home. I really think this is where the Enchanted Forest really belongs.
There's the installations, the neon installations, which are dialect of leaves, 1 and 2. They describe the trees in ancient languages like Aramaic and Egyptian.
We were in a yurt with a very nice lady telling us a story, and I really enjoyed it actually. It was good, yeah. Thought it'd be for kids, but we managed to get in.
It's brilliant to have it in the area here. Yeah, encourages a lot of people to come up, and it really helps our season up here.
Well, it brings a lot of business in, yes, each year.
We have to thank not only Creative Scotland, but also Visit Scotland for the amount of support they give us in marketing terms. Obviously the Forestry Commission itself for lending us Fascally Wood and all the help that they give us. Even the Dunmore Angling Club for helping us out with the loch. I mean, it's a fantastic team effort. The theatre obviously have provided the ticketing services for this. It's a real community effort, and everyone really benefits.
It's a fantastic place to come. I would recommend it and tell all my friends about it.
Definitely come up for a visit, have a look around, yeah, really enjoy it.
That's the dates for next year in case you're interested, guys. I've got the endorsements in there as well, Lisa, the sponsorship endorsements, so I was listening. Just a quick update. I think in the bio it said we were hoping to attract 25,000 customers this year, visitors this year. In actual fact, this year, and the event only closed a couple of weeks ago, we've actually done 30,000 visitors to the event, which is absolutely fantastic given that it's predominantly run by volunteers, this event. The community really does get behind the event. What I'm going to do is going to talk about 3 areas of the event. There's the creative process, if you like, and that's me in the suit. That's what I get like sometimes. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the planning, but there's been a lot of talk about planning today, so I'm mainly going to focus on the marketing of the event and how we actually have taken the event from its origins and made it into the show it is now. Just to put a little bit of scale in that, this year we had news teams from France, from Norway, and even from Russia. And my Russian's not too great, but I did think they invited me over to do a show in the steppes. Now, I'm not sure where that is, but I'm guessing it's cold. And there's also a wee bit of this goes on sometimes with this kind of event, as you can imagine. So in terms of the creative, keeping it fresh is our biggest challenge. And one of the things that I did when I first took the event over was to strip it right back to what it should have been, a proper sound and light show. And the sound element of that is really, really important because that was what was missing from the event in the past. It had been predominantly a lighting show. But the sound has created such an impact on visitors. We actually get downloads of the audio just of the show being taken by customers. And so one of the biggest elements was bringing in a sound engineer to actually design original music for the event. We also brought in a lighting designer. He was actually a theatre designer that I knew. And that created a new dimension. It added a bit of professionalism to the overall show. So keeping it fresh has always been the biggest challenge. And this year, we were very lucky to get funding from Creative Scotland to commission some visual artists, and you'll see some of their work later on. And that was, again, really important. It brought a new dimension into the event. It brought in something a little bit different for people. They were relatively static, but they still had ambient music along with them. And it brought a new dimension, which has resulted in us being put up for the Year of Creative Scotland awards in a couple of weeks' time. We always have to get the basics right, and we seem to be obsessed with toilets in this industry, and I am too, I have to say. We don't get many complaints, but when I do get them, they're usually about the toilets. So we have to get the basics right, and that's the Enchanted burger van, in case anybody doesn't know. We always have to give ourselves a lot of time. I'm already planning the show for next year, which is again in October. And talking to designers and getting ideas, as Lisa said, about what's out there, what's current. It was interesting what William was saying also about mobile technology. And I would love to use mobile technology, but this is a forest. Forget 4G, I'm lucky if I've got 1G out there, so it's not really going to happen. But there are people that do use the social networks to Twitter and to put Facebook postings up. And as you'll see later on, that has been a huge impact on the marketing reach of the event. We have a very tiny budget. I spend £20,000 promoting this budget. It's nothing. Lisa probably spends that in a day. You've also got to love it. You can't do this kind of event in November when it's cold and it's raining and not love it. And that's me standing, pretending to be a neon installation, and I'm absolutely frozen there, but I don't look, I love this. Pretending to be a neon installation. Could you hurry up and take the damn photograph? So you do have to love it. In terms of planning, you have to build the right team. I'm sure, I don't want to teach my granny how to suck eggs here, but obviously the team is absolutely essential, and I think we have a fantastic team, both in terms of the volunteers that run the show, but also the professionals that come in and actually make everything work. You have to decide what you want to achieve. This event isn't necessarily about making a profit, because it's run by a community interest company. So you've got to establish what it is you actually want to get out of the event, because it's not always about making a profit. That's good because that's seed money for next year, but there are other objectives, and the community interest company has some very clear objectives about what they want to achieve. We're always optimistic, and I'm very optimistic, but you have to have a wee hint of realism there. You have to make sure that all the health and safety things are there in place, and sometimes that can pull back your creativity. I'm very optimistic, but I always listen to others as well who are a bit more realistic than I am. Test, test, test. I think you had something else up there which was the 3 thing as well. There's nothing, especially if it's got a plug on the end of it, test it, make sure it works, because there's nothing more frustrating than something that's bench tested in Edinburgh. They bring it up to the forest and then it doesn't work because it's too cold. So we always test things and make sure that everything is actually working the way it should do. I've been standing, so some sleepless nights standing at 3 o'clock in the morning going, that's still not working, and it's 5 hours later and it's still not working. And you've got to love them. You've got to love your team. You've got to make sure that they're happy with what you're doing. You've got to be a good leader when you're running those teams. You've got to make sure that they're happy and that they're comfortable with what they're doing, and make sure that they're enjoying it. This is what a lighting designer looks like at 4 o'clock in the morning after they've been standing for 5 hours in the cold and the wet. You've got to love her. She's great. The marketing side. I'm going to have to get a drink of water. So I'm getting a bit dry here. This is a new phenomenon, Scotsmen drinking water. In terms of the marketing, I'm going to cover off a couple of points. Pricing for the event, the loyalty and the retention strategies that we adopt, the distribution channels that we use, and the research that we conduct. The pricing of this event is obviously very important to us, especially when you're in a recession like we are. So we always keep the pricing relatively competitive, and we price for families and we price for large groups. One of the areas that I'm quite interested in, this is something that's come out of my theatre background, is dynamic pricing. And dynamic pricing, well, you say that's just about putting the prices up, isn't it? Well, it is and it isn't. Dynamic pricing, you are looking at maximising the revenue from your ticket sales, but you have to do it in a very scientific way. And so we measure the speed of the sale, how quickly people are buying certain tickets, and how much of those tickets are actually at full value. And again, how much of that is at the nominal yield. Nominal yield is just the discount less what you would have got at full price. And we use that information to say, right, okay, that's the hot ticket. We'll manage that up a little bit. That's another word for putting the high prices up. There's a company, actually, a venue here in Belfast, I think, is also doing something like this. You can maybe go and have a wee chat with them. The MAC, Metropolitan Arts Centre, I think they're doing something along these lines. So you could go and have a wee chat with them. But the reason we do it is because it added something like £48,000 to our sales turnover for the event. And so it is a very useful technique. Happy to talk to you about that. Also look at value for money. And this is really important to us, because you can see this is a theme that will come in a couple of slides. You'll notice 2012 is the orange bar at the top there, and last year is the blue bar. There's a very good reason why that value for money has increased. But that's what people's perception is of value for money for the event. The difference between this year and last year, this year in a forest, massive expenditure with Creative Scotland. Last year, actually a very good show, and artistically and in terms of the experience was really, really enjoyed by customers. But the difference was, this was in a forest, and you got a bus in the town, and you drove out to the bus and in the dark and everything else and all the experience, and this was in a garden. It was a woodland garden. It's not a formal garden, woodland garden, but that perception of value for money just dropped that a little bit in terms of the location of the event. So it's really important. Value for money is so important to people, and you can see the difference that made to their experience. Excellent, very good, good. Not so good last year, much, much better this year. Discounts. I don't do them. I do look for value for money. I do look for offers, but I've never done a discount on this event ever. As Lisa was saying earlier, I think it's about retaining the brand value. And if you discount, that can have a negative effect on the brand. What I do look at with regard to that is the loyalty and retention strategies. And there's a big difference between loyalty and retention. Loyalty is about communication, it's about being warm and fluffy, it's about letting people know what's going on through Facebook and the like. But retention is about when the customer is most at risk, when they're about to buy something of a competitor's product or whatever. So retention is all about hitting them right at that point of sale when they're ready to buy. One of the ways that we use retention is through our Facebook campaigns. We allocate best slots to our most frequent customers. And so that's how we add value to them. It's not a discount, it's just adding a benefit to the way in which they interact with the event. And so they know that as frequent flyers, if you like, that they are going to get the earliest and the best deals. Distribution channels. We use the website. Probably something like 75% of our sales come through our website. We are looking at mobile applications as well. That's a slightly convoluted solution because all the web sales are actually done by the theatre. They provide the ticketing services for the event, and so we've got to make sure that it's actually the theatre has to invest in the mobile technology so that the event can benefit from that channel. We also do a lot through the phone. That's predominantly, it's not actually there to sell, it's actually there to provide a customer service. You wouldn't believe the number of people that phone us up and say, "It's raining in Glasgow, is the event on?" So well, it's an event, an outdoor event in Highland Perthshire in the winter. It's going to be on. And interestingly, we've actually had a lot of walk-ups. I think if any of you are organising events, please make sure you've got the facility to take walk-ups. This is a small kiosk in Pitlochry that is actually run by the theatre called Just a Ticket, and we set that up to provide walk-up service for customers who'd in the town didn't know what was going on. So, oh, that looks like something we can go to tonight, and so we got something like 15% of our ticket sales came through walk-ups. So it's a very important channel for this kind of event. Research. I love research. It helps you to understand your customers, to understand what they liked about the show, what they didn't like about the show, and we do an awful lot of it. Every year we've been building on that. This is the customer loyalty over the last few years, and as you can see, we retain about 25 to 30% of customers coming back year on year. Now, that's a good thing because that's good sales without having to do too much, but it's also a challenge in the creative process because you've now got to keep it fresh. They don't want to be seeing the same thing year after year, so you've always got that little edge to that loyalty. We measure the effectiveness of our marketing. I don't know if maybe you can see that or not, but the social media took a big hike this year. Word of mouth is absolutely huge, and that predominantly is coming through people on Facebook and inviting their friends through the ticketing system that we use. It's called Tessitura. I think the Abbey Theatre down in Dublin have got that system. And I was at a conference down in Stratford-on-Avon a couple of weeks ago, and they're about to introduce new technology for Facebook, so you'll actually be able to buy a ticket through Facebook, which is going to be fantastic for this particular event. So we measure the effectiveness of the marketing, and that obviously transponds to where our customers come from. This is a national event now. We get customers from France and from Germany, from Norway, mad Russian press people coming over. And this line here, I'll just step over. This was really important to us because we actually weren't doing as well in the Glasgow area as we were doing in the Edinburgh area. And so we focused on the Glasgow area, and we ran press campaigns, we ran internet campaigns. And as you can see, that had a very positive effect. That's an anomaly. We hadn't been measuring Fife before, and Fife was always included in the Edinburgh postcode, so Edinburgh's not doing as bad as it looks like it was. It's just that we've started to split out Fife. But that has shown that our marketing has been effective. That leads us back to our objectives. As I said, the objectives are not about necessarily making a profit for this event. It's about economic impact. And something like 48% of our customers stay at least one night when they come up to see the event. That's a huge impact on quite a small town and economy. And what that means is that they're spending in the region of, well, if you just take this area here, people have spent between 100 and 200 pounds. That's worth something like 600,000 pounds to the local economy alone. Forget everybody else. Just that sector of the market alone is worth that kind of money. And we reckon that extrapolating that, we've probably earned for the area something like 1.4 million to the local economy just across those 3 weeks of the event. And we measure everything. The ranking of the event, toilets, catering. We actually didn't do too well in the toilet front there because we were estimating something like 25,000 customers. It's amazing how much more toilets 5,000 customers need compared to 25,000. And as I say, we measure catering. We've been kind of doing okay there in terms of catering. That's outsourced, so you've always got that issue of retaining the quality of the event. That's really the bit about marketing. I think what I'll leave you with is the people that I love the most.
It's a good way of bringing more tourists in. It extends the tourist season. It's something different as well, and it's a whole family event rather than just something for adults or just for children. Everyone can come to it.
Well, it's great for children because they can come out at night without being scared, seeing all the different lights, hearing the music.
When you're down at the bottom there and you look up and you see this building, it just looks absolutely fantastic, and it's kind of quite eerie, and it's like you're kind of in a different world really, because it's just dark and then just kind of suddenly following the lights to all these different places.
I think it's the fourth Enchanted Forest I've been to. Been down at the Hermitage when it started, and then at Fiscale in the last few years, and I've always enjoyed it, but I think this is comfortably the most impressive I've seen the event looking. The gardens here are just stunning lit up.
The lights, the music, the atmosphere, it's just wonderful. It's a great event for Highland Perthshire, and I just invite everybody to come along and experience it for themselves. It's well worth it.
You've got to come to the Enchanted Forest because it's really, really fun.
I can't remember who was it that said don't work with children and animals, but it clearly wasn't a marketer. Thank you very much, Belfast. Thank you.